Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ohio State Buckeyes Primetime Live. I'm Ryan Stano.
I'm Garrison Gaddy.
Well, Garrison, there's a lot of news that's happened here since Thursday. But first off, how you doing? I know the winter storm kind of came through here. Did you guys get anything up north? I don't think you did, but here in Columbus, we got a good
Yeah.
5 inches at my door here.
No, like a few days ago we did over the weekend, but today it's been pretty clear, man. It looks like it got pretty bad over there. I was looking at the radar.
Yeah, Southern Ohio got hit a little bit
hmm
more than what we did. Uh, I was telling some friends I wish the Cotton Bowl was here at the shoe today. Texas wouldn't know what was going to hit them. It's
That's been
wind
nice.
chill in the single digits, snow
hmm
out there. They wouldn't know what to do.
Most definitely.
So that was nice. But there's been a few pieces of news since we last spoke here on Thursday. And a lot of it has to do within the transfer portal.
Yes.
So, Ohio State, a lot of in and out going from the transfer portal.
hmm
First off, sounds like Fitzpatrick is going to be leaving for the transfer portal. Offensive lineman. Didn't really play a whole lot. He kind of
hmm
got passed over for the left tackle spot by Zen Mikulski. And then even when he went
Yeah.
down, he still wasn't chosen to replace him. Ended up Donovan Jackson swinging out there.
hmm
So he leaves after some seasons here with the Buckeyes. What do you make of him deciding to enter the transfer portal?
Um, I'm not surprised. And for most transfers, I'm not surprised. I kind of see it from their angle a little bit. Again, does it hurt the Ohio State depth? Yes. At the same time, was he a factor in the depth chart? Clearly, he really wasn't.
Yeah.
We brought in two transfers already that are going to play right away. From the looks of it, the guard spot is already taken up, and looks like center is too. It looks like Ohio State already has their offensive line for next year. It truly does look that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this wasn't a shock. I mean, to your point, it does hurt the depth, which, has been an issue throughout the year and, was definitely an issue going into next season. So I wouldn't say it's a major loss. I wouldn't,
Mm-hmm.
this is the third offensive lineman to leave in the transfer portal, though, so that
Yep.
kind of stings. But you also get Philip Daniels and you get Ethan Onawana and transferring from Rice there, Daniels from Minnesota. So you're getting some help.
And
It sounds
I think we brought in better players too. We brought in better players
yeah,
when we lost.
for sure, and it does sound like they might be landing another kid here soon.
Mm-hmm.
So it's no big surprise he ended up leaving. It kind of makes sense, like you mentioned. I mean, he was never really going to play, just based off of what has already happened. I mean, if he wasn't going to play this year, when would it have been? As far as for how many offensive linemen had gone down, I
Right.
mean, let's be real.
I mean, you
But
have Ian Moore that's going to be playing. Like it's, yeah.
and he wasn't the only one that entered the transfer portal. Sam Williams-Dixon, running back, also decided to enter his name in here a few days before the Rose Bowl or before the Cotton Bowl. Excuse me. What do you make of him deciding to head for greener pastures?
I thought that one hurt. I think he still needs to develop more, but I believe that he was going to be a good running back to have. I would assume the reason he's leaving is because he thinks he can start somewhere, and he probably can next year. Also, I mean, you look at, we bring in a transfer from West Virginia, and then we bring it.
CJ
Then
Donaldson.
yeah, same thing as CJ Donaldson. Then I think we all most Buckeyes fans would agree that James Peoples is going to be RB1 next year unless Judkins comes back. And they can bring in Turbo and Bo next season.
Yep.
So I'm sorry, this season. This season's
I said they're going to be freshmen. I mean, they'll be freshmen next year, but yeah.
So, and I mean, there's a few walk-on guys there too, but it looks like the running back room has some depth now. But when it comes to Sam Williams-Dixon, it sucks because I think he's gonna be a really good running back. But I understand it.
It stinks just because of the experience that Ohio State lacks at running back. I mean, they've got those guys coming, like you mentioned Turbo, you mentioned Bo Jackson.
He's 1,000.
Donaldson's got experience. He's by far the most experienced back Ohio State's going to have next year, though. And now Sam Williams-Dixon's gone, so that leaves basically Donaldson and James Peoples of guys who have gotten carries for Ohio State, because I do think Judkins is going to leave after this year.
Me
Makes
too. Me
sense.
too.
Yeah. The only way he doesn't is someone drops an NIL bag, but I still think he's probably gone. The depth certainly doesn't look great, but they have those two freshmen coming in. TC Caffey will come back. He had a knee injury before the season. He's
I
not.
think he might be a scholarship guy by next season.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he's nothing special necessarily. Like, he wasn't going to take carries away from someone.
No.
He was just kind of there in like an emergency situation. So, it hurts, but like you mentioned, he probably thinks he can get playing time elsewhere.
Right.
And with the kind of logjam that was starting to pile up there at running back, it's okay that he's gone, especially now that they got Donaldson. I feel a lot better. Had they not had him already on the roster, I'd kind of be freaking out a little bit more.
I agree.
But they've got someone who is able to, show they've got experience. I mean, he's got over 800 rushing yards, double-digit touchdowns in the last couple of years. So that makes things a lot different, and that helps a lot. So they also lost a tight end in the transfer portal, Patrick Gerd. He was the third guy to leave. I did see a lot of Buckeye fans be like, who? That name didn't exactly ring a bell, but he's actually been a fairly productive player. He's been someone who has been in for goal line packages. Like, he's played a lot. He's played in 13 games this season. He's a good, solid blocker. Yeah. But he's decided to enter the transfer portal. So what do you think about Gerd leaving?
I'll be honest with you. It doesn't move me. From the times he got in, he blocked well. He wasn't the guy you're going to throw to, because that's not the situation you need him in. You brought him in 12 personnel or in the goal line. I'm sure he plays special teams. So, long tenured guy. He does have playing experience. I'm sure there's places he can go and start without question. I don't think there's much we can say about his receiving skills, if not at all. So unless you watch high school tape of him.
Yeah.
So
he only had one catch as a Buckeye. So
yeah. So I wish him well.
I do too. Solid blocker in the run game, which is something Ohio State always likes to have. Not shocked he would decide to leave. I mean, like you mentioned, he's not a.
We just brought the number one tight end, dude.
Exactly. That's the thing. You gotta make room for Max Clare. He is the guy who's going to be getting all of the targets.
Jelani's going to play a lot more. He's earned his spot, Jelani.
Yeah. I mean, Jelani, we'll see. I mean, he's had up and down, but they do love his potential. So he, again, just the depth at tight end that all of a sudden Ohio State has now, which is kind of strange. That kind of pushed him out. So I'm not shocked by that by any stretch. And, certainly wish him well moving forward. But those were the three guys who Ohio State ended up losing to the transfer portal, but they also gained some guys. Yesterday, let's just start with Ty Howard. He is the linebacker who Ohio State went ahead and grabbed from Duquesne. He's an all-conference linebacker. And what do you make of him? What do you think of his play? Do you know much about him? What do you think of him?
I like him. I like him. So when I saw the news, I right away looked at his highlight tape. He's athletic. He reads well. He can play in the pass coverage. Like, look, I think you don't go to that division of a guy who's going to be a junior unless you believe he can play right away and have some type of impact. Yeah. I think he's a guy who's he could possibly start next season, depending on what happens. Either that or he's gonna be in high rotation. I don't like it's because one thing. So when I was watching, it's one thing for him to be that, like, he's athletic, but he reads well and he plays like a D1 linebacker or D1 nickel guy. Like, he can. I think he's got it.
He's a good player for sure. I don't think he's going to start next year. I do think he will be in the rotation. It's going to be Sonny, and then it's going to be probably Arvell Reese as the other guy. But I think Howard and And honestly, Pettyjohn, the true freshman coming in, I think those
Yeah.
those are kind of the top two guys that'll be in rotation with Cody leaving. Now that Gabe Powers in the transfer portal,
Hmm.
so I definitely like him. He needs to. I mean, it is a huge jump to go from Duquesne to Ohio State. I mean, that's a massive. It's not like he's moving from the MAC to the Big Ten. He's moving from FCS
Yeah.
up
He
to the
probably
Big
be
Ten.
a really good edge rusher.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean he's a little undersized. He's only 6 foot, but
Hmm.
he's 200 pounds, and he can move well. So it's gonna be interesting to see how they use him next year.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's necessarily, like I said, a day one starter. But I do think he's someone that is going to play a fair amount
Hmm.
next year, and especially because Knowles only uses two true linebackers out there at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's just how it's going to be. So
Hmm.
with all of this transfer portal news, that's who Ohio State's got. I know there's been some chatter, and I'm sure you've seen it as well, about Damon Wilson
Yeah.
possibly transferring to even add further depth to that linebacker spot. For those of you who don't know, Damon Wilson is a linebacker transfer from Georgia. He went ahead and entered the transfer portal as well.
He
Hasn't
liked
played a
Ohio
whole
State.
lot.
He liked
Huh?
Ohio State when
He did
he
like
liked
Ohio
Ohio State
State.
when high school.
He
Yeah.
did, but he hasn't played, a ton. So that's why he went ahead and entered the portal. I based on what I've seen on social media, I think you like him, but explain more as to why.
He's big, long, and athletic. Now maybe the reason he hasn't gotten a lot of playing time is because he didn't know maybe there's things he needs to work on, whether it be like more consistency, more disciplined at the position, whatever that may be. But I think having him around a guy, like whether he plays like more edge and has to work with Larry or is with the linebackers now and has to work with Laurinaitis little animal, I think he would be better coached. I think he would become a very good player for us. I think he really would.
If he chose Ohio State, I agree. There's some other schools in the mix there as well, but
Hmm.
he has, he didn't play a whole lot as a freshman. This year, he's played a lot more.
Yeah.
He had 22 tackles, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries as well. He was in the rotation. He wasn't one of their starting guys just because Georgia's got a lot of good starting linebackers. Their
Yes,
defense is still pretty darn good, even though they lost to
most
Notre Dame.
definitely.
But he would arguably, I think he would give Arvell Reese a run for his money as far as starting if he did come over, just because, like you said, he's very athletic. He's got good size. He's quick. It would be interesting to see what he can do with Laurinaitis and Knowles coaching him.
Hmm.
Again, that would be assuming he chose Ohio State, but
Yeah.
that's something that they're going to have to work on. So,
Right.
we'll see what happens with that. So, that was all the transfer portal news that's happened.
Hmm.
I'm sure there will be more once the Cotton Bowl has ended, but that's, the biggest thing on everyone's mind is still the Cotton Bowl. Ohio State, that's their number one priority. That's what they are focused on intently. And before we get into more of the game, I do want to talk about something around the game that could actually have a big effect on it. And that's the weather down there in Dallas. Now,
oh yeah.
it's going to be it's a dome stadium, so the players won't have to deal with it. But the snowstorm that came through here, like I said, we got about 5 inches. Southern Ohio, some places got a foot. There's going to be a snowstorm that's coming through Dallas, and they're calling for possibly 8 to 9 inches of snow in Dallas, Texas. That's something that they are not prepared for. They don't deal with that. They don't deal with winter weather well down there at all.
No, they're not.
So that's
I remember a few
something
years ago, Georgia got 2 inches and they closed everything in the city down.
Yeah, Atlanta freaked out. So,
Yeah.
we've seen Dallas have to deal with ice storms before, with football games. And now, they had that with the Super Bowl, and now they've got this potentially looming over their heads. And this is something that I think does have the potential to delay the game because it is a big storm, and people in Dallas just don't have the infrastructure to deal with it. Their power grid's, a mess. So are you worried at all that they could delay this game to Saturday because it is scheduled for Friday? Could they delay 24 hours? What do you think?
I'm not so much worried about it. Then I guess like annoyed, but hey, these things happen, man. Like these things happen.
Yeah.
I would be annoyed because it's just simply because I have to wait another day. First world problems. Boo hoo, boo hoo.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I
but
mean, I agree with
I
you.
wonder how it would affect the players, because maybe some guys might be ready for that day, and the next day they might not have it. You never know. These are college kids.
Yeah.
So
It certainly would be annoying to have them delay it the extra day. What
mhm.
I'd say is go out there and play in the stuff. Go to the actual Cotton Bowl and go play outdoors there. Certainly help Ohio State, but
It definitely
no.
would.
I'm hoping they don't delay the game. They've got enough warning at this point where
Hmm.
they might be able to
You
get
can
some.
prepare.
Yeah, exactly. Prepare. Maybe get some other snowplows and trucks out there from other states, maybe to help.
And there's enough trucks in Texas to do it. There's enough trucks in Texas to get put a plow in front and get rid of the snow.
Yeah, but I mean, they also got to get some salt trucks down there too, because
Yeah,
they just don't salt. So those are the
that's
kind of
true.
trucks I'm most worried about. But we'll see what happens. That's still 5 days from now, or it's 4 days from now. It's on Friday, so we
Hmm.
got a little bit of time. And my guess is they would announce something like that if it's going to be delayed, probably by Wednesday. I don't think they would leave it to the last minute until like Thursday. So we would know later this week. I'd probably say 48 hours,
Yeah.
whether or not that would happen. So besides the weather, that could possibly delay this. I don't know how much film you've watched of Texas since we last talked on Thursday, but I sat down and I watched. I rewatched the game against Arizona State, and I
Okay.
rewatched the game against Clemson
Okay.
because I think those are the two most relevant data points for this game. And what I saw was a team that defensively is still kind of a mess. I didn't
Hmm.
expect just some of the stuff that, for how good Texas's defensive line is supposed to be, and that's what we've heard all season. They kind
Right.
of give me Tennessee and Oregon vibes, where it's like, okay, yeah, these defensive lines are good against like inferior teams that aren't like Ohio State. And it kind of reinforced my feeling that Ohio State's going to be able to put up points, and I'm not sure they're going to be able to stop them. I mean, what do you think? Have you watched any more film?
Yeah. So I watched. All right. I watched the Arizona State game again. I like that. Just the highlights from it. Watched the full first half of the Clemson, or second half of the Clemson game, Georgia game, and the Vanderbilt game. Uh, I'm a little confused by Texas, because if I go through their schedule, you've played nobody. That at least you've beaten nobody.
Yeah, they're
And
having good
then
wins.
yeah, and then if I look at your two biggest wins or your two biggest games before the playoffs, you have Georgia the first time they step over you, and then the second time you lose when they have their backup quarterback in. And then when it comes to the playoffs, this is how what I've mostly gotten from them. And it's not to say that they don't play good defense. I think the defense is pretty good. Even though I don't believe they played an offense that is as explosive as what Ohio State's seen. I think Oregon is more explosive than every other offense that Texas has played this season. And Penn State is probably a close second or third compared to whatever they've seen this season. Their offense is very good when it's on script. Basically like in the first half, which like it's very good. In the second half, they fall off, and they also do defensively. I asked a few Texas fans this in a space. I said, "Do you think that Sarkisian trusts Quinn Ewers?" And they told me yes. I said, "I don't think he does."
I don't think he does either.
Yeah,
I mean, some of his throws, like he just doesn't. Coming out of high school, all we heard about was how strong this kid's arm is, and it's not
yeah.
that strong.
I wouldn't call it
And
strong, but he it looks pretty leaving his hand. But
well, and that's
he
the reason why
floats,
it's not
but he
strong
floats
anymore.
it. Yeah, he
They
floats
did
the
some
ball.
mechanical work on him.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, they changed his mechanics because apparently, they say he had a stronger arm before, but then they made some mechanical changes so he wouldn't get the ball, I guess, batted down as easily, I guess.
Yeah.
And now it doesn't come out with the same strength, which I think is a problem.
No, and it is. And I think against a team like Ohio State with the secondary they have, you need to have a strong arm. The running game, I don't really fear it.
No.
I believe there are two very talented running backs, Blue and Blue. I can't remember the other running backs team right now.
Yeah,
That's
well,
my fault,
I don't.
I just the receivers. I don't think there's anything really special outside of Helm.
Isaiah Bond worries me a bit.
We've seen better receivers than Isaiah Bond. I just I don't believe Texas is the best team Ohio State has played. Or I'm sorry, not the best offense Ohio State has played.
I agree with the offense. I mean, Quintervian Wisner is the other running back you were trying to think of.
Yes, Wisner.
He's got over 1,000 yards. 5 touchdowns. But Bond worries me a little bit. But Golden is the guy they're going to have to defend. He's got almost 1,000 yards receiving, 9 touchdowns. He averages 16.7 yards a catch. So but again, it's a little bit like Oregon on offense. If you shut down the guys who can beat them, they don't have anybody else who can really step up and do something with it. Right. So and I know we talked about this before. If they don't actually trust Quinn to diagnose the defense, make the throws that he needs to make in order to deal with an Ohio State zone, which I could see them sitting in zone a decent amount, kind of like how they did against Oregon, and force him to make reads. I could see Sark deciding to put Arch in.
Yeah,
and I think I think Ryan Day is preparing for that a little bit. I think he's told Knowles, hey, this could happen. Let's make sure we got a game plan for this exact scenario, because he's obviously more mobile. He can scramble, and they can use him on design runs too. So I do think I would not put it past them to do that. All of a sudden the first half's not going their way, or even the first quarter, because we've seen these couple games, things can get out of hand quickly if you're not right with Ohio State. So yeah. I could see them pulling the quarterback soon. And that, to be honest, I'm still not sure how much that would matter. I just, more film I watch, just the more overwhelming feeling I get that this Ohio State team is just flat out better. I mean,
they are. No, Ryan, they are. And do I think I picked this game, I guess, a single score game. I have something around 30 to 23 or something like that, because I think Texas defense is good enough to not let what happened, or to not let what Oregon let happen, or Tennessee. But for all the love that Ohio State's offense has been getting, for Will Howard, to Jeremiah Smith, to Travion and Mecca, all of those guys, the question I think is, how does Texas score on Ohio State's defense the way it's playing right now? And for Texas, though I think they have a good offensive line, they've lost 2 guys on there. I don't know if their receivers are. I don't know. I just don't. And is that because I don't think we're gonna blow Texas out? I don't see how they score enough points. Like, I was listening to who was I listening to? I'll think of it later. But they're talking. They asked him, how many points do you think Texas needs to score in this game? And his response to him was 38. And he says, "Oh, then Texas is losing because they're not scoring 38 points in Ohio State."
That's right.
If you believe Texas needs 38 points to win this game,
that's the thing, is I do believe that. And if you look at their defensive performances, all season long, so the whole regular season, the most points that Texas gave up was 24 points to Vanderbilt. And they won that game by 3. It was at Vanderbilt. That was when Vanderbilt was having a little bit of a run, and then they fell off a cliff.
Right.
The last 2 games, they've given up 24 and 31. And I understand, 31, that was in overtime. So, 7 of those points came in overtime. But you're even if you allow 24, I don't think you're gonna beat Ohio State because I don't think you're scoring 24 on their defense.
No.
That's the thing is Ohio State has allowed 17 points and 21 points in the last 2 games, and both of those were because of late touchdowns. Let's be frank.
Mhm.
The score could have been worse if they decided to keep their foot on the pedal. And this, I just don't see the way that Texas plays offense, how they're going to be able to attack Ohio State's defense. Now, maybe the defensive line, you look, the last 2 games has been the best Ohio State's defensive line has played all year.
Yeah.
Maybe all of a sudden they stop playing that well. Maybe Texas's offensive line's able to, Texas offensive line's good. I wouldn't say they're great, but they're good. What if all of a sudden they just stop being able to get pressure up front because of their offensive line just starts, blocking really well. Then at that point, maybe they can move the ball a little bit because of how well the front four has been playing, they've been afforded to be able to sit back and kind of have a spy there and also send out blitzes with Cody Simon, Sonny Styles, and other because their back seven's been, or their secondary's been playing so good. So I don't know. I just don't see how it's possible for them.
No, I agree. And there's also this for me. What does so I hear a lot of people say, well, why don't they go do the Michigan thing, right? Run the ball, try and like hammer it up there, but Texas hasn't been able to do that. And then they talk about, well, run Michigan's defensive scheme also. And I think here's something that a lot of people don't understand. What Michigan does in their defense, like in a variation of the 3-4, it's very intricate to them. Like it's very different to what everyone else in college football runs. Excuse me. A team is not going to be able to do the same scheme that Michigan does and learn that in a week or even a few weeks. Texas plays a lot of man-to-man like the rest of the SEC does.
Yep.
And though like the point of the 3-4 defense is to blitz from different angles and to get to the quarterback. But this is Ohio State's not the type of team that you do that to, because if you do that, they're putting Emeka Egbuka they have him in the middle, or they're putting Jeremiah at the slot. They're running a right across the quarterback's face for free release.
Yep.
No, because you're not staying with them right there. You're not. And once you do that, and what your defense is built to do, which is get to the quarterback and blitz, when you got to stop doing that, you got to run zone out of that, and you have bigger gaps between your defensive linemen. That's when Ohio State is going to hit you with a run.
Yep. And Ohio State, what they've done really well in the last couple of games is they've been able to move Jeremiah Smith around the formations. They have not kept him just out wide or on the right side. They have moved him all over the place. They've moved him in the slot. They've moved him close to the line of scrimmage. And that's helped scheme open some easy throws for Howard to him. I mean, that first play against Oregon, he was closer to the line of scrimmage, and he runs, maybe 3-4 yards ahead of the line of scrimmage, catches the ball, and he just does the rest because he was wide open. And that's all you need to do with someone like that. You get the ball in his hands, and he can take care of the rest. So Chip's been in his bag recently, and I expect him to continue that here, against Texas. I just, I keep coming back to my 35-17 prediction, and I might have to.
Wait, that's what you have right now?
That's what I had. Yeah. And I might need to.
That wouldn't be surprising. That wouldn't be surprising.
I might need to add a larger margin of victory. And look, I came into this. I came into the playoff. Actually, no. Let me rephrase. I came into the SEC championship thinking that Texas was the best team in the SEC, and I thought that they were probably top 2, top 3 team in the country. Like I thought they were really good. Last couple games, I just haven't seen it. And I understand they won those games, but they beat, Clemson. They got home field advantage in that game, and they beat Arizona State, but they blew a 16-point lead. And quite frankly, if they don't get bailed out with a 4th and 13, 4th down, overtime touchdown pass, they're sitting at home and we're playing Sparty. Sparky.
For
sure. I just don't see how Texas is going to be able to all of a sudden flip that switch.
Yeah, I'll say this. Now, what does worry me, because I do believe everything comes back to the mean. So that's why I have the 30-23 score I have, because I think there is a world where Texas offensive line, and I think you mentioned this earlier, where their offensive line plays very well in this game.
Yep.
And if they're able to run the ball with them being that, it's an RPO based offense they run. So with them being, if they're able to do that, and Quinn gets comfortable, then I think it gets a little rough. If it gets to the fourth quarter, it could be tough. It really could.
Yeah. I am, if I were Texas fans, the one thing I would hold my hat on and hope is that all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, is that the Cotton Bowl is a home field advantage for them. Because it is in Texas, it's in Dallas. There's obviously a lot of Texas fans there. They need to pack that building. Because if it's anything less than 70-30 Texas fans, they're in trouble because they won't have a home field advantage. And that's probably their best chance in this game, is to be loud on defense, screw with Ohio State's timing and their cadence, and possibly, get them a little bit flustered. I mean, I don't even see that happening just because Will Howard's, been around. He's been in the loudest environments in the country. He went at Penn State and they still won that game. So, I don't really see that even being much of a factor, but that's probably, in my opinion, that's the biggest. Or if they all of a sudden just decide, one series or two of Quinn Ewers, that's not we just don't see it. They bring in Arch and all of a sudden he starts running around and making plays. I'm not even sure he can do that. But
if Arch is in the game, I'm not worried. If Arch is in the game, I think we're dog walking them. I don't think this is a game you can just throw him in there.
It's going to sound weird. I actually think he could give more of a fight for Texas than Quinn the whole game could.
I don't think he has the arm to do it.
The arm, see, Dylan Gabriel doesn't necessarily have a rocket arm either. What made him so dangerous was his ability to move around the pocket, make plays, and then scramble for 10, 12 yards when everyone was covered down the field. Now, Ohio State was able to mitigate that with a spy, but Arch is obviously faster. He can move around a little bit, side to side, quicker than Gabriel can as well.
I don't think he has the decision-making ability of Dylan Gabriel or even near it.
I agree with you. I'm trying to give Texas fans some hope here. Mainly just because, and also...
I gave them more hope than you did. I gave them a touchdown game.
That's true. But I'm trying to find ways because, look, I feel overconfident right now, and I don't like feeling like that. I feel like this game...
Me either. I don't... Well, I do like it, but I don't... But I'm basically bathing myself in it now.
Yeah, and, I mean, everyone on the show, everyone's heard me say how cautious I was about the Oregon game. I wasn't worried about Tennessee. I was much more worried about the Rose Bowl.
Right.
This is a good point as far as turnovers on defense. Ohio State hasn't. I mean, they didn't get any against Oregon. They had. What they have one against Tennessee.
Yeah. They had turnover on downs, but.
Yeah, I mean they have. Caleb Downs dropped 2 picks in the Rose Bowl. Cody Simon dropped a pick.
Jack Sawyer Jack Sawyer could have picked that off.
I mean, that would have been incredible, but that would have been a tough catch. But sure.
I already saw him make a tough interception. He can make that one.
Yeah. But to Antonio's point here, Quinn does have the propensity to make stupid decisions when things start to get a little bit tight, either when they get behind or if all of a sudden a team starts making a comeback. We saw that last game against Arizona State. I mean, the interception he threw, the guy was double covered. Now, the guy made a great play to make the catch, but there's really no reason to throw that ball in that situation. I mean, to take that shot with 2 guys down there. So his decision-making can be suspect when that happens. I do think they could end up getting some turnovers here. This question kind of directed at you here, Tyler, or Garrison. What do you think here? Because they've been hitting. They've been hitting against Tennessee and Oregon. They've been physical.
it's actually crazy that in the last 2 games, Lathan Ransom has literally exited both teams' starting running backs.
Yeah.
that's but no, dude. Like so the defensive line, starting with Tyleek, he's very good because he's a very big guy who's athletic, so he's already going to be really good in the rush defense. You have Jack Sawyer and JT, and that's not to get away from Ty. Like he's been great this year for us. But then our edge players, they're big defensive ends who are both been great since last year in the run. You got like Sonny Styles. People forget this. So last year as a safety, Sonny Styles is actually top 10 in the country in rush defense on PFF as a safety. He's been good in run defense this year. Cody Simon's been the man. Then you have 2 linebackers. I'm sorry, 2 safeties who like decapitating guys, and then every single one of your starting corners can tackle.
Yeah,
and they've all been hitting, and that's what we bring up the run game for Texas. I don't see how they run the ball on us. I don't see it.
they're gonna try to run the ball early, which they just have to, just because they got to try to maintain balance. And quite frankly, I think that's probably their best chance at hitting a big play, is breaking one out, with a run. I just, like you, I don't really see it happening. The interior of the defensive line has been great. I mean, Tyleek Williams, been awesome. And he even mentioned today he's not playing at full strength, but he said,
yes.
But
I can't tell.
No, and he said he's perfect. He said he's perfectly fine. Yep, man, if that's you playing not 100%, I'd like to see you play 100%. And that is something to be said as far as how many games into the season this is. I mean, this is what, their 15th game for both teams.
Yeah.
Actually, no, not for both teams, because Texas had to play a championship game. Texas had to play one more game. So this is their 16th game. So it's just, I don't think that they're going to have enough stamina, enough fight to, I wouldn't say fight. I don't think they're going to quit. Enough skill to win this game. The only way that Ohio State doesn't win is if they beat themselves, like they did against Michigan.
And people hate to hear it. They hate to hear it, but
if they turn the ball over, if they make uncharacteristic mistakes on defense and on offense, if Will makes a stupid bonehead throw deep in their own territory, and all of a sudden they give Texas 7 points early, that's the recipe for Ohio State losing this game.
Yeah,
I think that's,
and the crazy part about it is, even if that happens, you probably didn't put us away.
No.
And that's the worst part. Like it's we still have a chance to win the game, even if all that happens, just because we're that doggone good.
Yeah,
and because the defense is, specifically because of that.
Yeah, I think you would have to have that happen more than once. A couple times probably to have that happen. And also, and Jaden Fielding did kick very well in the Rose Bowl. That helped
46 yards.
Yeah, and that helped me feel better about the special team situation. But I wouldn't say I'd be lying if I said I was 100% confident, something like that. So, a couple missed field goals. Those are the only scenarios in which I see Texas being able to really, win this game.
Mm-hmm.
I just they don't instill fear in me. They don't instill anything that I was feeling against Oregon, because Oregon, we'd seen them all season just run up and down on teams. I mean, their offense couldn't be stopped. Their defense was, I would say, great, but it's definitely good enough. I just don't see that from Texas right now.
Yeah, I don't. And again, like this more so has to do with what does Texas have on offense that scares me. Like I asked on X, I asked, what position group do you think Texas can take advantage of? And one guy said he thinks that Gunnar Helm can, has the advantage over our linebackers and safeties. And I didn't go hard at him, but I say, I think that'd be a good test. But I thought to myself, buddy,
Safety, certainly no.
I said, buddy, you do know we're talking about Caleb Downs here, right?
Yeah,
I'm thinking it to myself, and
now, if
I
you would have
just
said
don't.
corners, maybe.
Yeah, I would have gave him that. I would have
Yeah.
gave him that, but I mean, it's just I mean, do our corners even have a pass interference or a holding call in the last two in this playoff? No.
Nope.
So I don't know, man. But hey, listen, Texas, I respect your program. I think you have a really good team. I think you have a pretty good defense, or a pretty good offense, pretty good coach. I personally don't think we're going to blow you out. If we did blow you out, would I be surprised? Hell no, I wouldn't. If like we give you guys straight belt, I would say it's par for the course right now. But
Yep. Well, I'm going to move on from this game a little bit. We'll circle back here at the end. I'm going to talk about the other game. I want to talk about Notre Dame and Penn State because the winner of the Cotton Bowl will play the winner of that game for a national championship. And I know when we talked last time, you had mentioned that you thought Penn State was the better team, and I think you had them winning this game. I want to know if your thoughts have changed at all since the last time we talked.
No, not yet. I talked about this yesterday with Johnny Olden, TJ, Josh, and a few other guys. I have Penn State winning still, but it is subject to change. It is subject to change. Because I mean, I was very bullish on Notre Dame against Georgia. I was very bullish on that. What this comes down to me is the same thing for when Notre Dame played Georgia. I think these are two really good defenses. Really good defenses. Do I believe that Notre Dame can beat Penn State by just running the ball? No.
So it sounds to me like you think Penn State's defense is better at containing Notre Dame's offense than Notre Dame's defense is containing Penn State's offense.
Yes, not so much that. I think that they are better built to stop a Notre Dame because of Riley Leonard, his ability to run the ball. Georgia is not as fast of a defense as Penn State is. Penn State is a very fast defense, and they still have a good secondary and a really good front seven, and one of the best edge rushers in college football, top 3 easy.
Well, to this point, is Abdul Carter gonna play? It's still up in the air.
I don't care.
Okay, all right.
I don't care. I think that they're just. I think the scheme that they run there, and this is my thing. Every single year we ask, when one guy leaves from Penn State on the edge position, what are they gonna do? Dude, there's always someone else there. If there's a few things I trust under a James Franklin regime, the defense is gonna be fine and fast. On the flip side of that, now Notre Dame has the advantage against Penn State's receivers. But Penn State still has the best or second. I would say 1A, 1B with Ohio State is the best running back tandem in college football. And Drew Allen's the better quarterback. He just is. And I don't think it's close.
Okay. So, I think that Penn State is a pretty good defense. No, they're a very good defense. Both defenses are very good. I think the difference is going to be the fact that, and look, neither one of these coaches has won a truly big game. Like, you know what? I won't say
Freeman has.
Marcus Freeman beating Georgia, that's a big game. James Franklin
beating Ohio State. He won the Big Ten.
SMU.
Oh, you mean this year?
This year. And he won the Big Ten
a long time ago.
2016.
Yeah.
And they didn't make the playoff.
That's the last time they beat Ohio State.
Yeah, exactly.
So they don't have a big win this season.
No. And that is one thing. And we saw the trickiness that Marcus Freeman came up with. He seems like a coach that can outcoach Franklin. Not that that's super hard to do. But, he came up with that fourth down call where he rushed those guys out and all of a sudden got Georgia to jump. And Kirby was pissed off about that. He's like, well, I was told we couldn't do that by our SEC official. Well, dude, you learn the rules, man. But come on. It's stuff like that I think gives Notre Dame an edge in this game, even when their offense isn't able to manufacture points, because I don't think their offense is anything special. If they can't run the ball, that's going to be a problem. But no one's been able to really stop them from running the ball yet, to the point where they haven't won a game except Northern Illinois. So I think Penn State is going to have – the other thing is I give Notre Dame the edge in the special teams. I mean, Notre Dame had a kickoff return for a touchdown this past game. I mean, that kid had two kickoff returns last year. I mean, he's dangerous. Notre Dame is dangerous with punt and kickoff returns, and we've seen how aggressive Notre Dame is at going to block punts. They blocked multiple punts this year. If Penn State is not prepared for that, those are the kind of plays that can swing big games like this. Those are the kind of momentum plays, especially when you have an offense that isn't necessarily built to go, get 10, 15-yard chunks from the air. Those are the kind of plays that can turn the tide of the game. So I still like Notre Dame in this game. I think it's going to be closer than the games we've seen from
for sure. For sure. Oh yeah.
But I still think Notre Dame is going to end up winning this game. I'd be perfectly fine if Penn State won because I know we can beat Penn State. We did it already, at Penn State. I think that's an easier matchup for Ohio State. But I think Notre Dame will show themselves to be the better team in this matchup.
I wouldn't be surprised, Ryan. If Notre Dame won this game, I wouldn't be surprised at all. It's just because like I said, my choice is subject to change, man. Because there's a part of me that does want to pick Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Because in all honesty, I trust Marcus Freeman more than I trust James Franklin.
That's where it comes down to me. Honestly, that's why I'm picking Notre Dame to win this game. Because I've seen time and time again now, if James Franklin wins this game, he will have beaten the allegations of not being able to win a big game.
Oh, yeah.
I'll give it to him.
Johnny, stop. I love the state of Michigan. Do stop spreading these lies.
Yeah. So, I think Notre Dame will probably end up winning this game, but I would not be shocked if there was a different result in this game. So, how I want to wrap things up here today is I want you to give me what your best case scenario is for the Cotton Bowl and what your worst case scenario is for the Cotton Bowl. Give me your best case first. I want to hear some optimism from Garrison.
Best case scenario is the offense keeps doing what they're doing. I think if the offense continues to do what they do, there's nothing anyone can do about us. And it's because I don't believe the defense will give up much. This team has given up more than 20 points twice this season. And the second time they did it, which was last week, a little fluky because it happened in garbage time.
Yep.
So it'll be the offense continues to click. And then worst case scenario is if Texas defensive line gets if they get pressure. I think that's the worst case scenario.
I think my best case scenario is the defense plays even better than what I think they will. And Texas still has no answer for their offense, and they win this game 42 to 10, maybe 7. I just don't see again, that'd be best case scenario where all of a sudden Texas realizes, oh, we have not seen an offense like this. I think worst case scenario is all of a sudden Texas gets a couple turnovers from Ohio State. Will Howard has some bad interceptions like he did against Michigan. They missed a couple field goals, and all of a sudden they just don't really are able to come back for it. I don't see any scenario in which Ohio State's offense is slowed or stopped completely. What I could see is like I mentioned before, is they end up beating themselves with turnovers, missed opportunities there, and I think that's probably the only way that they lose this game. I think worst case scenario is they lose on like a last, they lose by 6 or something. I mean, that kicker's not making a field goal to win the game. Bert Auburn is not doing that. We saw that against Arizona State. So, it would have to be at least a 6-point game for them to happen. I think that's my worst case scenario, but I don't know.
Okay, so there's something I want to ask you about.
Okay.
And it has to do with Tavian Sinclair.
Okay.
So with him having all these extra practices at Ohio State right now, because he doesn't get to play,
yep,
but he does get to practice. Do you think that is going to have any effect on this quarterback battle coming into next season?
I mean, it definitely helps that he's getting reps against these good offenses. I mean, I'm sorry, against this really good Ohio State defense. He's not getting first team reps, but he's getting reps against guys right now who have a chance to move into a starting lineup next year because of how many guys Ohio State's losing. I definitely think that's beneficial. With bowl practices, you're able to get these extra snaps that he wouldn't have gotten, had he enrolled in the summer. So, I think it's definitely beneficial to him.
Right.
So I think it's going to make a huge difference to determine whether or not he or Sayan ends up starting. Not really. I think, but I at this point it's between those two. I mean, with Aragon, I don't think Kean Holtz is really going to have much to say about it. I mean, Devin Brown's obviously gone.
Are you surprised? Are you surprised that he hasn't declared for the transfer portal yet?
Kean Holtz, a little bit. I could see him doing it after the season's over, though. I mean, because Ohio State, once their season is over, whether it's the Cotton Bowl or the national championship, they would have to. They would have 5 days to declare for the transfer portal. So that's how long it would still be open for him. So I could see him doing that. I do think there's going to be at least a handful of guys that declare once the season's over, no matter when that ends up being, just because they kind of wanted to. They didn't want to rock the boat. They wanted to keep, the run maybe to a national championship going. They didn't want to create a distraction. Some of these guys might end up, deciding to go elsewhere. But I don't think it significantly changes. Like I said, I don't think Tavian's reps significantly change the quarterback battle. What about you? Also, Angry Buckeye, I would love that score.
Oh no! If that happened, I would start calling this the greatest college football team of all time.
Yeah,
I would spill some very sick narratives here. I somewhat agree with you. I do. I think that it won't have much to do with it, but I think it does help him get used to the college speed. Gets the guys around him more familiar with him.
Yeah.
That's a big part of being in a locker room, is having guys be familiar with who you are. And I think it gets him in front of the coach a little bit more. You got to be able to show that before you can play at this level, you got to practice at this level. You got to practice at a high level. Have I always believed in practice makes perfect? No. But you do need to make sure that you are performing in practice, because especially
it does when you're a true freshman.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas when you're a true freshman, you get yourself seen. So there's that. If you don't mind, so what do you? And this is a fun question for you. In the aftermath of the Ohio State-Oregon game, how do you believe Oregon fans are taking it? And how do you believe the national media is taking it?
I wouldn't say certain Oregon fans are not taking it well. A lot of Oregon fans are bitching about the college football system. They're blaming the loss on the system. Oh, it's because of the long layoff. Look, every team that had the layoff lost. Every team that had the bye lost. It's clearly a disadvantage. Like, dude, with this long of a season, you want that rest because you are banged up, especially a team like Oregon. They ran through the regular season. They didn't have a bye week. They had it early. They were able to get some much needed rest after going to a Big Ten championship, winning the Big Ten. They had 3 weeks off. That really helps the body.
Right.
You can't. I quite frankly, I think it's a little shit that they're starting to use that as an excuse. I think they're just trying to cope. Quite frankly, I think it's just a coping mechanism. In the national media, I think some are using that as a cop out for their agendas, maybe specifically from the SEC. Some SEC fans are using that. Members of that big network are to help explain how there's only one SEC team left. But I don't think that played a massive part in it. I do think it factored in a little bit. There is a rest versus rest argument, but it didn't make a 20-point win difference. What do you think?
I think it's hilarious. I think it's laughable. Luke. May's mad, man. He knows him. Luke. It's something like when Luke said to me that in the second half, his team, they came alive and they played better in the second half. They didn't let us score. And I said, whoa. And so, I did my little homework real quick. I looked at the depth chart. At the play chart. Once we passed the ball 6 times before we in getting that 41st point.
Yeah.
Dude, we passed it 2 more times after that on 2-3 different drives. Just 2 more times. If Ryan Day really wanted to, he would have dropped 60 on you guys.
For sure.
And we easily could have dropped 60 on Oregon. We really could have. And
any Oregon fan that thinks they could have possibly competed in that game in the second half after we took the foot on the pedal, they're just lunatics.
Yeah.
The result of the game is the result of the game. They got their ass kicked by 20 points. Their season's over. Ohio State's moving on. So, that's the way I see it.
Let's see. We have some score predictions. We got what David says. I'm going 28-17 OSU. Yeah, let's see. That's around where I'm at.
I don't see any way Ohio State scores under 30 points. I don't.
I don't either. But just the range. Texas defense would have to play really good. Johnny Olden has Texas 28, Ohio State 24. Johnny,
Shocker.
You're crazy. Shocker.
Look, this team has been playing. This is the way we thought this team was going to play all year, quite frankly. This is the dominant Ohio State team we were expecting to start the year.
Correct.
So they're just finally playing to their full potential.
No, and Johnny, this is what I want to ask you, buddy. And you're my guy. Tell me what makes you believe Texas can hold us to that, but we can't hold them to less than that. That's my only question.
Blind ridiculousness. This would be nice.
Wait. Oh, shoot. Where is it? Was that Berg?
Here, this
one. No, that was Angry Buckeye.
56-17.
And bank it. If that happens, man,
That's more along the lines of what my best case scenario was when I talked about that earlier. That'd be great.
See, Berg's 35-60. Well, I'll take that. I would take that.
My initial prediction was 35-17. So yeah. I don't like feeling how confident I am because when I'm this confident, things go wrong. But I have been hesitant to give this team credit over the last 2 weeks. Well, look, I thought they could handle Tennessee. I didn't think Tennessee was going to be that, but I didn't see that kind of blowout. I didn't see them absolutely just crushing them.
Mm-hmm.
And then Oregon to have them go, start off 31-0, finish 34-8 in the first half. They're not even giving these teams a chance to breathe.
Not at all.
That's the thing that I keep coming back to.
They haven't given them a first quarter point yet.
No.
And like
And
my no, go ahead.
no, I just finish my point is like if they don't if they just completely suffocate teams in the first quarter, the other teams they don't have the offense to score in Ohio State. Like Ohio State's defense is too damn good to let them get back
They're not. It's
as
funny. They're not
quickly
getting
as Ohio
talked
State
about
put them in the
enough.
hole.
They're not getting
Yeah,
talked about enough. That's what's funny
yeah,
about it.
yeah. I mean, that's it's as simple as that. Just as quickly as Ohio State's putting teams in the hole, they can't climb out of that hole.
I agree with
Can't.
this. Again, I don't understand why you blitz 7 to 8 guys on a 4th and 13. It just doesn't make
That was a
sense.
stupid call. Stupid call.
And I don't
Especially
even know
against a
what.
senior
And then
quarterback.
I mean,
Like,
you saw that video go around. Like, do you think that was a catch?
yeah,
You still do? Okay, all right. Because
yeah.
that's how I felt. At first, I was like, oh, I was being a little biased. I'm not gonna lie. And then I thought, well, no, the ball can move. It just can't assist. The ground can't assist you. And
Yeah, and it didn't. That ball didn't assist it. I mean, I think that was still a catch.
I want to ask you about this. Do you think Scadaboo might be the best running back in the nation? Did I ask you this already? I think I did ask you
You
this
asked me that
already.
last week, and I said
Yeah,
no. I think he's the
yeah.
second best. Genty was still the best. I understand Penn State was able to put the clamps on a little bit, but that was more of the fact that Boise State couldn't really do much else. I was kind of projecting that, hoping that they'd be able to throw the ball a little bit better, but they can't. At least Arizona State has, Levitt can sling it a little bit, and they got Scadaboo. They've also got better offensive play callers at Arizona State. So
Texas gets some turnovers, and their defense matches up well against OSU. So you think running man to man matches up well against? But for some odd reason, we've seen man to man for the last 2 weeks now. We've seen teams
Jeremiah
do
Smith
it.
warned what he's going to do to man.
Dude,
He said it.
He told you boys, and if you do it,
Yep.
I just don't. I don't, and here's like we said, and here's the thing. Johnny has been saying that he believes that for the last 2 games, he says that Will Howard's gonna have a boneheaded play. Well, he hasn't had one yet. He hasn't had
one yet. And to be fair, I would not put it out of the realm of possibility. He has had,
yeah.
and over the course of the regular season, he did have 1 or 2 stupid throws. There were times where other teams just weren't able to capitalize on it, but that did happen. Now, he has not come close to anything like that against, Tennessee or Oregon. So I don't see that happening, but it has happened in the regular season. He's just been more lights out here in the playoff run, and I don't see that have that. I do agree with this, and we talked about this. Golden Tate,
yeah,
he's gonna be good.
I think he's gonna have a big game. I would, whatever the, I want to see some of these player props. I'm gonna go look for this because I want to see what his over/under is right now. Because whatever it is, I'm gonna guess it's around probably 25. That's probably
for his receiving yards.
Yeah,
unfortunately, here in the great state of Ohio, they took away college player props last year. So we can no longer bet on those. Yeah. We can bet on the games or some scoring props, but you can't bet on individual player props anymore.
I want to see this because if he has something like around, okay, so I mean it's still -6. We both know that 53.5. You think that's going to be over, right?
I think it's going to be an over for sure.
Okay. Do you see on ESPN right now that FPI has Texas with the event?
I did see that. That was stupid, but I've seen it. I mean, look, their FPI metric's always been screwed up. Even when it's biased towards Ohio State, it's a bad metric.
I don't see his name anywhere for like some of the top player props right now. Let's see. You have Will Howard has hit touchdown pass of the last 3 games. Okay, he has so right now Will Howard's 97% return on return. Actually, they're not even showing the player props really, but yeah, I would based on recent the model predicts.
I mean, Tate, I could see having for him. I could see this
50
being
yards
at 50 or 60 yards. We haven't really needed to use him the last couple games. I could see this where
he has 1 reception each game.
Yeah, I could see them paying way too much attention to Jeremiah, and all of a sudden he sneaks out and tortures them as well. So,
I want to show you this also real quick, if you don't mind. And I want to ask you what on here pops off the screen to you. So this is Texas. This is just some of their statistics over the season. Here we go. So right here, is there anything right here that pops off the screen to you? And I'll scroll it down if you need me to.
Let me see here. I mean,
because I have
what
one.
I would say is their personally, I think it's their I mean, only 4.5 yards per rush. I don't think it's going to get it done. I mean, that's against a lot of decent defenses. Ohio State's got a much better defense than that. And also their red zone scoring percentage is so low. It's only, it's 108th. I mean, that's
yeah.
Ohio State's got the best red zone scoring defense. So
yeah, if you can't score in the red zone, because you're not going to get big plays against Ohio State.
Yeah.
So if you have to drive down the field and get to the red zone, man, it's tough to score on Ohio State. Even when you get within the 5-yard line, there's not a great chance you're going to score a touchdown. One statistic that pops up screen for me is their opponent yards per pass. They're number 1 in the nation at 5.5. Now a lot of that, what quarterbacks are they playing on their schedule, which hasn't been that impressive in wide receiver wise. But I mean, I still think that's something that is impressive, no matter nonetheless.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would agree with the red zone scoring. That's surprising, and what that simply means, honest, in all reality, in the red zone you have to be able to run the ball. If you can't run the ball, you're not going to score in the red zone more times than not, at least touchdown wise. So yeah, dude, the more we talk, I think we blow them out.
Yeah. And this isn't a real prop, I assume, but if this was a prop somehow with holding calls, yeah, you're taking the under on that every time. Ohio State's been getting robbed all season long on holding calls. They don't have a single one called against them. It's ridiculous. Anything else you want to hit before we head on out?
No, I think that is it.
Okay, well, we will have Colin's show Thursday, the night before the game. So please,
please call
your comments. Yeah,
I hate hearing us talk.
Yeah, yeah. Love to hear from you guys. So we'll see you Thursday at 8. Make sure you bring in your comments, and we'll see you guys then. So other than that, OH.
IO.